The horrors of nuclear bombing and a depressing, sad ending is just what I ordered. When the Wind Blows is an adult animation that'll hit you in the feels, showing the nuclear bombing of the United Kingdom and how an elderly couple naively returned to the way things were, not knowing that society and life as they know it have ended. Based on a graphic comic created by Raymond Briggs, the elderly couple, Jim Bloggs and his wife Hilda, first appeared in a graphic novel called Gentleman Jim, only for them to go out in a sad, painful When the Wind Blows. This movie was created during the decade of the Soviet-Afghan War, showing us how nuclear war is a war that can exterminate the entire human race. I'm going to share with you a slightly depressing animated movie, talk about the characters and all the saddest parts. Stay tuned for the breakdown. Cue the Gohan. Jim Bloggs returns to his simple home in simple, rural Sussex, England. He's nervous after reading the papers and tells his wife Hilda about World War III starting. But Hilda believes that if they can survive World War II, they can survive anything. Right in the beginning, they don't understand nuclear warfare. Announcers on the radio tells them that war will break out in 3 days at the most. Even more stressed, Jim gets out his government-issued leaflets that tell him how to create a fallout shelter. Jim takes off the doors in the house to use to structure the fallout shelter, and Hilda observes the surrounding nature with innocent, oblivious curiosity. Jim calls his son to ask if he's following the government instructions too, but the son, who has a family of his own, believes that it's pointless. If we die, we die, which is an attitude that confuses Jim. Nuclear war is right around the corner, and the elderly couple think about World War II. They think of Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin, the good ones, fighting against Hitler, Goring, and Mussolini. Guess they forgot about Hirohito and Tojo. They were kids during World War II, and they seem to have good memories of growing up during this crazy time period. Those were the days. Jim takes a trip to the store to buy food and more things they would need for 14 days of sheltering, but the stores are sold out of everything. And all they got are these nice little emergency supplies, and he paints the windows to help with nuclear fallout. Next instruction is to keep the doors closed to stop the spread of fires. Oh, right, the doors that the pamphlet also said to take off the hinges. This looks wildly unhelpful. They gotta stay inside this door fort for 2 weeks, and the couple have a small argument about how ironic and useless some of the government handout instructions are. And all the while, a plane flying over the country ready to drop a nuclear bomb, and more confusing instructions from various government pamphlets. They ponder who will win the upcoming war. Jim knows a lot about American capabilities, but the fear hasn't settled in yet. I'd be as depressed as Flora in Come and See if I knew there would be a nuclear bombing. Jim believes that the United States and democratic countries would win the war and give Russia a new revolution. Hilda imagines they will write a letter to the Soviet leaders to not drop any bombs. Again, it gives the notion that they both don't understand how devastating nuclear bombs are, which is interesting because they understand how terrible the attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki were, but haven't fully grasped how deadly it could be 40 years later. The radio warns that an enemy missile attack has been launched against this country. Hilda says she will wash the clothes, but then Jim calls her a stupid B-word for not getting in the shelter and drags her into the door shelter, all while bomb sirens play throughout the countryside. And so a bomb is dropped, just the shockwave of which causes immediate destruction throughout the entire country. Trains derail, buildings, and of course, the Blogg household barely standing. Finally, the bomb is over and the two hug. They recall the blinding light and the intense heat and wonder how far they were from the hypocenter of the bomb. But it's clear if they were any closer, they'd be dead. So now you have to sit in this shelter for 14 days to stay away from the fallout. And Hilda says, bomb or no bomb, Hitler or no Hitler, she will be leaving the shelter if she feels like it. And yes, she confuses the Soviets for the Nazis many times. The next morning, they still struggle to stay inside the door shelter and start playing kids games to calm their minds. He reads a book out loud about early missile detection systems, lots of government agencies and red tape. They discuss mutually assured destruction, but imagine it's an insurance company rather than the military doctrine of making sure that the Soviets feel the nuclear weaponry too. On the third day, they start feeling a little sick, and Jim stops following his own advice about leaving the shelter to make himself some tea. They have no running water, no gas, and no news. The entire world has shut down, and they keep their sanity by thinking about what they should do after this bomb messes over. They start feeling sick, fatigued, and pained. The nuclear fallout is getting to them, and they still haven't realized it. They both hope that someone will come for them soon, and Jim finally realizes that he accidentally left the door shelter too early. But it's far too late now, and the door shelter didn't do squat. The next day, the fatigue and headaches get worse. They go outside, seeing all life dead. The plants, the sky, gray and black. The sun isn't even visible. They smell burning flesh and assume it's neighbors barbecuing. They wonder what fallout would look like, thinking it looks like snow, when in reality, they are breathing in all that nice fallout right now. Everything is completely dead. It almost feels as if Jim and Hilda are the only people left in the entire world. They walk back around the house imagining that society is still alive. I kind of admire their habit of looking at pure death and staying positive. Jim forgot how nuclear bombs affect people even after the bombing, but they clean up their house to prepare for any visitors. He gets freaked out imagining Soviet soldiers coming to kill them, and again confuses them for Nazis. But their optimism starts to run out and their hair loses its color. They ran out of water to drink and it gets them tense. And all they have left is this nice little snack. Looks like a weed edible. Hilda gets terrified when a big black rat pops out. She's more bothered from seeing this than the nuclear bombing. Soon her gums start bleeding and both talk about how there was blood in their stool. They both have no idea how sick they are and why. A depressing drone music starts to prepare the viewer for this grisly sight of them both laying down dying. They have a low whispering conversation, still hoping that somebody will come to save them. They are slowly dying, hoping that their son is just fine. Just try and look on the bright side, Jim tells Hilda, but her hair is all falling out. They get into these paper bags they had. She thought it was stupid at first, but now it's an option that they think will help them survive until someone helps them. Their optimism fleeting and barely there. The couple hug up behind the door shelter and begin to pray. The first time they've prayed in a long time. While they pray, Hilda tells Jim to stop once he starts forgetting the words. And the two pass away as the fallout makes way for the sun. All the while, at the end of the credits, there's Morse code that translates to mutually assured destruction, meaning the Soviets who launched the bomb got blew up too. Everybody is dead. I will say, I thought this movie would be sadder. I didn't realize how naive Jim and his wife would be. Nowadays, because of this movie and more similar films, we get just how devastating nuclear weapons can be. But Jim and his wife had no idea. They thought it was just a regular bombing. The most disturbing moment for me was when they walked outside and still had no grasp of how destroyed everything was. Like, they literally smelled corpses, could barely see the sun. It reminded me of the ending of The Divide. Most enjoyed moment is probably the ending. The ending was sad, but not as sad as I thought it would be. Honestly, they didn't lose all their optimism. I don't think it's too bad to die in such a naive way, not knowing about the dangers, yet still succumbing to them, ensured that they died without much despair. Now, speaking of nuclear bomb movies, you should check out The Divide, a film that shows you that it would be hard to survive a nuclear bombing with a group of idiots. Watch that video if you want to be further depressed. If you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe to see more messed up stuff. Thanks for watching. Spooky out.